Hello, welcome back. Today is Watercolor Month, Day 4. We are going to be painting this bald eagle with a very limited palette. Let's go over the colors we're going to use. The first one is Alizarin Crimson. Then we have Permanent Lemon. We have Paris Blue, Raw Umber, and Payne's Gray. Now, using Paris Blue and Payne's Gray as my blues in my color palette is going to give me a slightly unusual set of mixing colors. So what I'm going to do is in my sketchbook, I'm going to play with the colors and find out what kind of purples and greens I'm going to have available to me. Right here, I'm cleaning my yellow. It's awfully dirty from the last time I used it, and I am dampening my other paints before I get started. This Alizarin Crimson from Lukas is a gorgeous, clear, cool red color. I love using it to create purples, but it's balanced enough that once I mix the yellow in, you're going to see it create a gorgeous orange. Permanent Lemon is one of my favorite colors to use. It's a pretty neutral yellow, and because it's so neutral, it creates some great mixing colors. Paris Blue definitely leans towards the green end of the spectrum. So when you're mixing it with the yellows, it creates very, very vibrant greens. It's really pretty. While I'm here making my color chart, I thought I'd try using my raw umber as a yellow tone, and I wanted to see what kind of oranges and greens I could get using umber instead of yellow. Because raw umber is so cool, it almost made a burgundy purple when mixed with the red. I wasn't expecting that. It did make a really pretty gray-green when mixed with the Prussian blue. I also know I can get a super dark color with this mixture, which will be great for the bald eagle shadowing on its feathers. And at this point, I realized I haven't tried mixing any purples or have I tried using the Payne's Gray. So the first thing I'm going to do is dip into the Paris Blue and mix it with the Alizarin Crimson. And as I expected, it created a kind of dull purple. It's still a pretty color, but it's not as vibrant as it could be because of that really green leaning hue. Now I'm trying the Payne's Gray and the yellow to see what kind of greens I can get. And I have used this before. I usually use it as a shadow color when I'm doing foliage. It's definitely not a super vibrant green, but it's a great way to have a more natural tone in paintings with a lot of foliage. I do like the almost granular effect it has with the yellow. The blue kind of sits on top, and the yellow creates almost like a background color. So it's a pretty neat effect. And then I went in with the Alizarin Crimson and the Payne's Gray, and I was actually shocked at how vibrant this purple was. For some reason, I have never used this color combination before. I don't know why. Forcing yourself to use a very limited color palette and forcing yourself to use colors you don't normally use is a great way to learn about color theory. This is the photo I'm going to be referencing. I actually took it myself, I believe when I was at Animal Kingdom in Disney World, if I remember correctly. I started out with a light wash of the Paris Blue and Raw Umber. And I liked the color combination. I thought it was a great undertone for the feathers. The feathers are not leaves. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. I don't know how people post so regularly on YouTube. This is hard, man. Anyway, I decided I was being a chicken and I wanted to go in and really darken up those feathers. I love loose watercolor paintings, but I am hyper focused on detail. So one of my goals during World Watercolor Month is to really try to paint loosely and just slap that color on and let it go where it wants to go and just try to keep it in the general area so that I have the darks where I want them, the lights where I want them, and other than that, I kind of don't care what happens. The looseness of the eagle ended up giving it a lot of movement, and I'm happy that I have been brave enough to experiment a little bit. I'm really loving these color combinations. It's creating a very watercolory look to this painting, and that's what I'm going for. Sometimes I feel like my watercolor paintings don't actually look like watercolor paintings because I don't let the pigment do what it wants to do. I treat it almost more like a gouache or an acrylic, and I lose some of the natural beauty of watercolor pigments when I do that. And I'm just mixing up a little bit of the yellow and the red with a touch of the raw umber to create a good color for the feet. For the branch, I am using my raw umber, a little bit of yellow, and a touch of the Paris blue. And I'm just doing it in layers and in different strengths of the yellow and different strengths of the blue to give it some varied tone and to make it look like a stick. I don't think I had mentioned before that the prompt for today was patriotic, and that's why I picked a bald eagle in the first place. I knew I wanted to incorporate red, white, and blue into the painting, so I thought it would make a pretty decent background. I like the way it's just kind of, I don't know, smeared on the paper. I didn't want it to be a perfect, even blend. I wanted there to be a lot of movement in the background. One of the things I do struggle with is if I don't want to use masking fluid, but I want to preserve a few little highlights, when there's a subject in front of the background and the background is just kind of washed on, like how I washed it on today, it's kind of difficult to negative paint. At least I find it difficult to do some negative painting. It's definitely a technique that I need to continue to work on throughout this month. It gave the tips of the right wing kind of a messy look instead of a loose look, and that's really my biggest criticism of this particular painting. Other than that, I'm pretty satisfied with it. And here I am just throwing in a few more darks to pull out the contrast between the background and the wings. I'm removing my tape, and there we go. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.